Hello once again, all my fellow workers out there. Welcome back to another episode of How to Satisfactory. You know what? It is an absolutely beautiful day here on our fixed designated sector. An absolutely beautiful day indeed. Because today is the last day that we had to deal with biomass. That's right. No more running around looking for leaves and wood and then having to take it over there and change it into biomass, which we then change the biomass into biofuel, and then take the biofuel around to 9 or 10 or 11 or however many generators you have just to keep the lights on and keep the power working and keep the machines working. No, we are going to be completely done with that today because we are moving on to that big, beautiful nature's black rock known as coal. A material that will blot out the skies with smoke and make it hard to breathe and possibly destroy this world, but will be a completely automated process for keeping the lights on. So that is the plan. But in order to do that, we're going to need rotors. We're going to need lots and lots of rotors for a few things today. And we're not making enough screws and iron rods in order to keep up with the rotors. And what rotors we are making are going down here to the very end to make smart plates. So, smart plates. Let's talk about that for a second. We don't really need them right now at this moment. I mean, sure, yeah, we need another 500 to get to phase 2, but that's really the only thing we need them for, and we can hold off on phase 2 and possibly get these things done in no time once we make this factory a bit more efficient. So, I say, let's turn the smart plate machine off. Beak! Like that. Alright, and then we're going to go down here to this splitter, because this is the splitter where rotors are going to. We're going to go over here and we'll say, none. None. Absolutely zilch. Don't send any more rotors to this machine. Even though it's powered off, it will still send them over there until the line gets backed up. So we're not going to deal with that. We're going to do the same thing over here on this machine too. We're going to go over here. We're going to turn it off. Bink! Like that. And then we're going to go down here and we're going to change this left one over to none. Like so. Alright. Now, from now on, every rotor that we make, which isn't many, is going to come down the line, go on down, back up into storage. Because we're going to need quite a few of these things for what we have on plan today. Alright, so waiting on these rotors is going to be a bit of a slow process. We are going to need about 120 or so of them. And at the rate that we are making them, we're looking at about 15 to 20 minutes at least before we get that many. So while we're just sitting here, let me at least do this. First of all, I want to apologize because I've gotten a few comments on my videos about me standing in one place and kind of jumping. And I didn't really realize that that was an issue until some of you guys pointed it out to me about motion sickness and stuff like that. So again, I apologize about that. It was not my intention to annoy you. It was just, it's a habit of mine. When I'm sitting thinking about something or sitting still, I have a tendency to keep my hands busy by hitting the buttons. So I am going to try my best to not do that anymore. I can't make any promises because it is a habit and it's going to be a hard habit to break, but I will do my best. Alright, so now that I got the apology out of the way, rather than just sitting around twiddling our thumbs, let's do something educational. First of all, make sure that your health is all the way filled, because we're going to do a little bit of exploration and we don't want to die while we're out there. We're not going far though, but just to be on the safe side, it's always good to make sure your health is good. Second of all, make sure you got plenty of cable and wire and concrete because we are going to be making some power cables as we travel. Once you've got that in your inventory, let's head over to where our copper mine is over there. Alright, and here at the copper mine, we should have an extra power pole somewhere that we can kind of link off of, and that's what we're going to go ahead and do. So go ahead and hit number 2 or whatever your power cable is, attached to the power pole, and then just kind of run it over this way to right about there. And what we're going to do is we're going to head over towards these trees and that hill right there. Also, as we're traveling over here, if you come upon a deposit of a material that we haven't found yet, or something that you might need, such as quartz, or what we have here, which is sulfur, then you might want to go ahead and pick that up, as well as any leaves and stuff, because, I mean, we haven't got the coal built yet. We are still going to need to supply some power to that. So, yeah. So, I personally have not yet found any sulfur in my world, so I'm going to go ahead and grab some of this here real quick. Alright, so there we go, got that in my inventory now, and being as that is the very first time I have found any sulfur, I just got a message from Ada, kind of explaining a little bit about it, and a little bit more info about sulfur. It is something new that is added into our research tree in the MAM. So we can kind of work from that now. We're probably going to need a little bit more than what I just picked up, though. But while you're out kind of exploring the area here, if you happen upon sulfur and it's your first time finding it, then you're going to get that message as well. And this is just kind of for your info later on. All right, so let's head up this way. Make sure you are attaching your cable up here while we travel. All right, and then once you top over this second kind of little small hill here, you are going to see this big yellow thing down here. And that is a crash site. So first of all, right now mine is being guarded by one of these spitters, so I got to take care of him real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, got him out of our way. All right, so let's talk about the crash sites while we have some time right now. So occasionally in your explorations, you are going to come across something like this. Now, it is possible that you might only see what resembles the cockpit of a transport ship or something like this, and you may not actually see the yellow container at first. But if you see one of these, most likely there is one of these somewhere near it. It could be up, it could be down, it could be anywhere near it. But yeah. Alright, so you're also going to find little things around it. In my particular case, I have some motors here. That's new. We have some wire, we have some reinforced plates, some more wire over here. If you're lucky, maybe you'll find some rotors. I didn't, though. Did find lots of motors, though, so those could come in handy later. Or, since we don't actually need any of that things right now, we could just go ahead and throw that into one of our boxes and let it become tickets for, coupons for our coupon machine. All right, now, if we walk up to the pod here, it's going to say, press E to open your drop pod. So let's do that. You're going to be greeted with this little screen right here and a big red kind of lever. Now, if you try to pull it, it's not going to let you. And the reason why is if you look over here to the left, it's going to tell you that repairs are needed. And then it's going to tell you exactly what it needs. In this particular case, this one is the battery is broken and it needs 40 megawatts of power. Okay, and that's exactly why I had you bring these cables over here. So, if we connect that to the drop pod, then we will be able to open it. Now, as far as I know, every drop pod in the game is specific for what it needs to open it. I don't think that's random like some things are. I'm pretty sure they are all the exact same in every map. So, this is why I had you bring a power cable over here. Now, also, some drop pods may require more than one thing to open it. It may say it needs a certain kind of inventory piece. It may say something like, oh, I need 10 motors or 10 modular frames or something like that. And then when you put those in there, then it's going to tell you, oh, it also needs a certain amount of power. So it's always pretty much different. And yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and connect a power cable up to this. And then we walk over to it, and then we can open it. Now, if you're Brad Pitt, you are probably wondering, what's in the box? Well, it is this thing right here, a hard drive containing fix-it data. And what do we do with a hard drive, you may ask yourself? And the answer to that question is this. This is exactly what you do with a hard drive. You take it to the MAM, you drop it in the hard drive slot, and then 10 minutes later, you will get a choice of 3 different alternate recipes for creating something. Now, the recipes are always random. You never know what you're going to get. If you want to kind of trick the system, you can save your game right before you put the hard drive in. And then if you don't get the recipe that you're looking for, you can just reload the game and do it again. But it is going to take another 10 minutes because you have to wait 10 minutes for the hard drive to scan and get the data off of it. Alright, at this point, you can delete our cables and poles that we built up here. And let's head back over to our hub. Alright, and over here at the hub, we can just walk up to the MAM, and then the first thing you see up here in our tree is hard drive. Now, all we have to do is click that, and if you have a hard drive in your inventory, you will see it right here. It will say one of how many you have, and you just hit the red button right here. It says scan hard drive. Now, like I said, it's going to take about 10 minutes for this to scan, and then once it's finished, you'll get a message pop up in one of your corners, left-hand corner, I believe. And it's going to tell you that it's finished scanning, and then you can come back here to the MAM, and then you will see the options for what 3 things you are given at that time. If you happen to get a recipe for cast screws, which allows you to make screws directly from iron ingots instead of having to make the rods to make the screws first, you want that recipe. That is the best early game recipe to get. If you can get that like first recipe, that's fantastic, and you definitely lucked out. One more thing I can tell you about the hard drives is there are only a certain amount of them, but you can pretty much get just about every recipe. So if you happen to see a recipe out of your choices and you're like, well, I like this recipe better, but this recipe is also good, don't worry, you will most likely see it again. Now, there are already tons of videos on YouTube about the best alternate recipes, the worst alternate recipes, etc., etc. If you would like me to create a video myself of what I believe is the best recipes and stuff for maybe early game or late game or anything like that, or just best recipes in general, let me know in the comments down below. I will be happy to do it if that's something that you guys are interested in, because I know everyone has their own opinions. So if you're interested in my opinion on it, I'll be happy to give it. Alright, so I'm up here at my rotors, and let's see how many we have right now. We have 134. You know what? I think that will actually do quite well. Let's go ahead and take all of them. And then we're going to come down here to the terminal. We're going to go into that. We're going to go to tier 3. And the very first thing in tier 3 is coal power. This is what we have been waiting for the entire game. This finally gets us off of that dreaded biomass and having to go around and run around and do all that stuff. Alright, so let's go ahead and click on that. And here's what we're going to need. We are going to need 300 cable, 50 rotors, and 150 reinforced plates. If you don't have the 300 cable or 150 reinforced plates in your inventory, just go grab them. You should have it in your storage boxes. Select the milestone, and we are going to just go ahead and pop these in here by holding down Control and clicking the items. There we go. And you are greeted once again with the big red button. Alright, so go ahead and smack that button just like you would smack the subscribe button on my channel. Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Yo, I totally am going to do that. Yes, smack that red button down at the bottom for subscribe so you are never miss one of my videos. Alright, now that I've got the self-promotion out of the way, let's take a look at what we just unlocked. Let's head into our build menu. And under power, you will see we have the coal generators. This is going to be the main component that is going to be making our power from now on. We also have down here, if we go into production, we have something else down here called water extractor. Now the water extractor is exactly what it says it is. It extracts water such as from a pond, a lake, the ocean, something like that. It feeds the coal generator. So a coal generator needs two things. A, it needs coal. Again, pretty self-explanatory. B, it needs water. The way a coal generator works, if you're not in the know of that, is that he uses the coal to make heat. The heat then boils the water to create steam. The steam is what produces the electricity. So technically, we're about to go steampunk. Some other things that we just unlocked are under logistics, and that is pipes. Pipes let us run the water or other liquids that we're going to be working with later on into things. You're going to get pipeline junction crosses, a pipeline pump. The pump is used if you are sending any kind of liquid through the pipe upward. Then you will probably need a pump depending on how far you're trying to send it upwards. We also got pipeline supports. This basically just lets us, it works the same way as conveyor belt supports. You can just pop those down wherever you want and then connect your pipelines to them. Alright, so at this point we are almost ready to venture out and start the construction of our coal power plant, but let's go ahead and grab a couple more things. Let's head into the store here and let's go to attachments. Now I highly recommend grabbing the conveyor wall mounts right here, which is going to cost us 2 tickets. Go ahead and purchase that. Another couple of things you could probably grab here in the shop. I don't really necessarily say you're going to need them for the way that I'm going to build the power plant, but you may differ from how I do it and may want to kind of go your own route. In that case, you can always check out the floor holes for pipes and the pipeline wall attachments. Once you've added whatever you want to your shopping cart, go up here and let's check out. I'm going to go ahead and hit buy all for a total of 5 coupons there. And just to get an idea to make sure we have everything we need to build this, because we are going to be traveling just a little bit here, let's go ahead and go into our build menu. Go under power first, coal generators. Now we're going to build about 4 coal generators. Each of these coal generators has the ability to process 75 megawatts of power. 4 of these is going to be 300. So I'm just going to add 4 of these to my to-do list, just like that. Under production, we are going to need 2 water extractors. And back up here under power, you may want to add enough to make a few biomass burners. Don't need many of them, just enough to kind of get things going over there. Rather than run power from here all the way to where we got to go, we can just take some biomass burners over there, build those, and that would be a lot easier. A few other things that we're going to need that are not in our to-do list is lots of concrete and lots of copper sheeting, because the pipes actually use copper sheeting. I'd also probably recommend go ahead and grabbing about a stack of each of the other items too. You never know really what you're going to need. Also, before we head out, I just got the notification that our research is done, so I can actually show you guys this real quick before we do anything else. So we go into the map, and this is what your analysis is going to look like once you scan the hard drive. These are our 3 choices right now to choose from. We can make copper rotors. So this actually doesn't seem too bad. We can make 3 rotors from 52 screws and 6 copper sheets. Now, at first, this may seem pretty good because we can cut out the rods, but 52 screws is kind of a lot. So we can actually kind of judge this here. To make 1, it will require 25 screws normally. So that's not a bad recipe. I don't know. Our other recipe here is iron alloy ingots. This basically lets you make iron ingots, but instead you use 2 different things here. You are going to be using copper and iron in order to just make iron ingots. So you will get more ingots out of that, but at the cost of using both materials for it. And we also have fused quick wire over here, which is using quick wire and copper ingots, we can make more quick wire. I would say this is probably the worst choice that I personally got here, because we already can make tons of quick wire and we don't really need that much quick wire. So I would say this isn't probably the best choice. I'm actually going to go ahead and choose the copper rotors. It seems like out of these 3 to be the best option, so I'm going to go ahead and choose that. And one more last note about the alternate recipes is that the alternate recipes can only be made in a machine. The alternate recipes cannot be chosen when you are crafting things from a bench. But the object of this game is to not craft things from a bench. It's to automate as much as we possibly can. And like the good fix-it employee I am, I'm going to make sure safety first, make sure my health is at full health, and we are going to venture out. We are going to head north, right towards those trees and up that hill. Pretty much where our quick wire and stuff is being made over here. As you're heading north, you are going to come across some iron nodes over in here. You will also see a power slug up on the hill. Feel free to grab that if you want. I'm going to get it later though. And right over in this area, you should see this dirt kind of here in the grass. Kind of resembles a bit of a path. What we're going to do is we're going to try to travel this path. And again, if you happen upon any kind of deposits of something that you don't already have, like for me, I just found some quartz. I could use quartz. I'll go ahead and grab this. Alright, after grabbing the deposit, if we keep heading north, you will find that this little road here kind of goes off to the west. So if we head over here just a little bit, you should see kind of a, not really a path, but you should see kind of this over here that goes north that way. And let's just head up over top of the hill right here. And you should come to the edge of a cliff overlooking a giant lagoon. Look at all this beautiful water, whose destiny is to make us power. Geronimo! Alright, after a fun cliff dive, we will swim over here to shore, and this is where we are going to be building our coal power plant. But first, we have to clear out some things. So, we are going to come across some coal. It is right over here in this general area, but we do have some creatures that don't take too kindly to us being in our territory over here. So let's take these guys out. Alright, on the north side of the beach, over from our lagoon over there, we are kind of in this little clearing here. I have cleared out about 4 of the spitters over in this general area, and there are at least 3 open coal spots here. We've got this one here, which is a normal node. We have this one here, which is a normal node. And there is one down there, but it has a rock on top of it, so we can't actually use that. And then if we come down here, right down here is another one. Alright, so all of these look like normal nodes for the most part. Let me see what this one is. The one with the rock on top of it is a normal. Alright, 4 normal nodes of coal. That is pretty good. I mean, pure is better, obviously, but 4 normal nodes? Not bad. We're actually going to need about probably 2 of these for the time being, and we could use the third one to maybe make some steel later on. Alright, so first things first though, let's go ahead and come over here back to the lagoon. Alright, while we are standing in front of the lagoon, kind of pointing towards this little outcrop here of rock and sand that kind of goes out into the water there, just kind of point towards that. Let's choose a foundation. Let's go with a 4-meter foundation here. There we go. And we're going to hold control, and that gives us the world axis, which lines this up with everything else that is lined up to the world axis. So we can kind of push this out a little bit to kind of, basically you kind of have to eyeball this for the most part. But I think right about there looks pretty good. So we'll build our first one. Come down here to it, and then let's zoop this out and see if we got this right. So let's just go 10. Yeah, and you know, for the most part, I think we got this. Yeah. All right. So let's just keep building this out. Let's go another 5 out into the water there. All right. So essentially, what you want is for the foundation right here, just to kind of, you want it to stick out over top of the water some, just a little bit from where this is. That should be good. Now we're going to take some foundations. We're going to put it on the bottom down here, like so. All right, so essentially what we've kind of made here is kind of a, think of it as a dock, basically, that juts out into the water. All right, so we're going to come all the way down here to where the foundations kind of meet the edge of the sand. And let's use a 2-meter foundation attached to the top, or at the bottom of the top foundation, just like that. And just kind of build one there, like that. And then come up here and build 3 out. So what we're going to have is a line of 4 coming out here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. We're going to come down here to the end. Copy this for the 2-meter foundation. And then we're going to go about 7 or so up that way. You can do more than 7 if you want. I'm going to do about 7. That makes this 4 by 8. And with just a little bit of a drop down here. Alright, and then we'll just connect that to there and fill in the gaps. Alright, and now we have kind of a bit of a floor here to place our coal generators down on. Alright, so let's go into our build menu and go under power, and let's grab a coal generator here. Alright, and what we're going to do is we're going to place this kind of right in the middle between these 2 foundations, with the inputs going into it facing us here. And they're going that way, basically. You can see here on the screen what I'm talking about. And these 2 foundations, you might have the lines right there, but we're going to place it just like this, so that you see that line right there on the foundations. That the white line, the outline of our build, should have lined up with that right there. And once you place it, you should see that the foot of the coal generator is like right on the edge there. Alright, and then we're going to put another one down here, and you could put this right next to the other one if you want to compact this down a lot more. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave a little bit of space in between. I'm going to put this one exactly centered in between these foundations right here, just like that. We're going to use our guidelines to line them up and place it down. There we go. And then the next one I'm going to put right in the middle between 2 foundations here. And then the next one is going to go exactly in the foundations, like that. Alright, so once we have our 4 coal generators built, let's drop down here and kind of look at the end down here of the water and our so-called dock here. And what I want to do is I want to be able to jut this out a little further down through here. So I want to use a 1-meter foundation. So let's change that over to a 1 meter. And I am going to put that right on the bottom of this last foundation here and stretch it out just 2 here, and then place one right on the edge right there. So this way we have kind of a foundation that's kind of sitting on top of the water. If you did this somewhat right, then it should pretty much be right about there. All right, and then let's just kind of jet that out. I'm going to do, like, I don't know, 6. Just like that. Now what this is going to be where our water extractors are going to be attached down here. All right, so now let's go into our build menu. Let's go to production and find the water extractor. Let's grab one of these. Let's turn it so that the output is facing towards the dock here. You can kind of put this wherever you want it. You can kind of put it up here on the edge. You can kind of put it like right there. Just as long as it's straight, then that's all we're looking for. And then we plop one down right there. All right, and then we can come down here and we are going to grab and copy this, and we're going to put this one right next to it. Hold down Control and it will line up perfectly right there. There we go. All right, not bad at all. All right, so now we have our 2 water extractors in, and we have our 4 coal generators. The next thing is going to be connecting all of these up. Now, the way I suggest doing this is let's go into logistics. Let's grab the pipe support right here, and let's put it kind of right here. You don't want to put it in the middle. You want to put it over here on the edge, just like that, and kind of bring it down past the input for this right here. All right, and then we can put one down here as well, like right there. And then we will go in here, we will grab our pipe, and let's connect our pipe to these. Right to those 2 right there. All right, and now we can just go in here to our build menu. Let's go to the pipeline junction cross and hold down Control until you get lined up right there. And then rotate your scroll wheel until that is pretty much straight right there for the most part. There we go. All right, and now with our junction cross in there, let's go ahead and copy a pipe and connect it from the water extractor up to the junction here. Now, if for some odd reason you get a red thing and it won't let you connect to this, just hit R, because the pipes have different build modes. They have noodle, they have horizontal to vertical, they have auto, and auto 2D. So anything will pretty much work here except for horizontal to vertical or auto. So auto 2D or noodle. I'm going to use noodle. Alright, and then that connects that to that. And then we'll just do the same thing to our other extractor down here. Hold down Control, copy the pipe, connect, and there we have it. And we can even delete the very last piece of this down here, as well as that pipeline support. Alright, and from up here at the top of our little dock thing here, let's go ahead and copy that pipeline support, and let's put it right on the edge here of the foundation. Make sure it's lined up using guidelines right there. Alright, and then copy the pipeline, connect it to that edge, and down. And make sure for this one, you actually do want to be on horizontal to vertical. And get it to where it looks kind of straight to you. That looks pretty good to me, so I'm going to go with that. And then connect these 2 up. Alright, so now let's go ahead and copy once again the pipeline. Connect it to the end of here. Let's bring it right down between 2 of these co-generators, right in the middle. Say right about there. Make sure it is kind of straight there. That is good to me. Alright, and then we'll bring it down this way. Right here looks good. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. Alright, next we'll hop up on top of our pipeline here, and then we are going to go into our build menu. We're going to grab a junction again, and we are going to turn it so that it is facing towards our co-generators, and hold Control, and that will line that right up with the input there for our water. Alright, next go ahead and copy a pipeline, connect it to the co-generator first. From there, we're going to bring it out to right about there on the foundation. Should be like maybe a third of the way across. And then click once, and then raise that up twice. And click again to finish it off, and then connect it into the thing. What that does is that gives us a little bit of space underneath of the pipelines here to run our conveyor belts for our coal, which are going to be coming down this way. If you want, you can also delete that pipeline support, as it's not really needed. And then we're just going to repeat this process to each of the coal generators. Back up to the first generator again, and we're going to take a conveyor splitter, turn it with the input coming down from this way, since the coal is coming this direction. And we're going to put it right there in front of our coal generator, with it right up against the edge of this section here. And again, we are going to repeat that at each of the coal generators. Once you get to the last one down here, we're going to grab our conveyor belts and hook those up to each of our splitters. With our splitters and our belts connected down this way in front of each of the generators, we are then going to come down here to the end, and we are going to grab a conveyor pole from our hotbar and hit E a couple of times until it turns into the conveyor wall mount, and then stick it right on the side of the foundation, just like that. And then run the belt from the splitter to the conveyor wall mount, like so. Alright, and now you can kind of see how this is going to go. So our miner is going to be up there. We're going to run the belts down through here till it gets to a certain point, and then it will hit onto the conveyor wall mounts, which will then bring it in here straight as an arrow. Alright, next we're going to come down here about a foundation away from the end of our pipeline here to right about there. We're going to go to our catwalks, and we're going to grab the catwalk ramp. On mine, it's number 5. But on yours, it could be different depending on how you set it up. And then we're going to build 2 of those up like that, so at a slant. And then we're going to build catwalk straight all the way down through there, like so. Bring the catwalk ramp all the way down to where the edge of our pipe is right here, as you can see. And then we're going to grab the stairs at this point, and we're going to bring those down about 2 from here. And again, with the catwalk straight all the way across. Now we have ramps that we can get from down here where our water extractors are to up above there. It's a nice little catwalk that runs right over top of our pipes. And the last piece of the puzzle here is going to be adding in some power poles. So let's go ahead and place one here on the edge, just like that. We'll place another one down here on this side, right about there. And then we'll use the cables to connect these two together, and then connect that to that extractor, this one to this extractor. After we get the water extractors connected, we'll place a power pole right here to the very edge of the foundation right there, and we'll connect that to there. Alright, and then we're going to bring a power pole down to right here, right where the foundation for our co-generators are, right about there. And we are going to run this back to the very back here, like that. And then we're going to run this all the way across through here. We're going to place one underneath of each of our co-generators here, and then connect them up like so, and then bring it all the way down to the edge down here, like that. And we're going to leave this open for the moment until we get our miners down. Copy the conveyor belt, bring it all the way down here as far as we can without it going into the ground. So right about there is actually an excellent place for me. Could be different on your screen though. And then just hook up your conveyor belts like so. Alright, now we're going to place down a miner. So up here where the two coal nodes are next to the cliffs, we're going to go with the one on the right hand side here. So this one will go to the left hand side of our coal plants when we build those, and this one will go to the right hand side that we already have built. Now the one thing I forgot to tell you to bring along with us so we could build this was I kind of forgot to mention that we are going to need portable miners in order to build the miners. So let's go ahead and build an equipment workshop real quick. Again, that's in our production at the very bottom. Equipment workshop, like so. And then once we're in here, just click on it and build a portable miner. Alright, now that we have the portable miner, we can just go into our build menu. We can choose miner Mark 1, and then we can place this down. I would place it kind of like this so that it's going that direction. Just like that. And we do have a giant fungus-like plant right here in front of us, so you know what? Let's just cut this down. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to run conveyor belts going from our miner down to the right hand side there where our coal generators are. If you hold control while you're building these, you should be able to get a fairly straight line, and if you need to, you can always just raise it up or lower it the way you need. And feel free to do any deforestation that is needed. Now another great option right here in order to line these up is taking a conveyor belt lift, attaching it to the end of our conveyor belts here, and I would kind of push it up maybe 2. That will give you enough room that you can actually walk underneath of it, and then we'll attach our conveyor belts up through here. And as you can see, that actually worked out quite well. It leaves plenty of space to walk underneath of it down the beach, you know, just in case you want to take a romantic stroll across the beach down here. And of course, always remember, if you happen to run out of, say, something like reinforced plates to make these belts, you can always just build a craft bench down here and make more. Alright, now we're going to continue our power, so feel free to do this however you choose. I'm just going to do it this particular way, but we just need to get power from down here up to where our miner is. Following your belt is always an excellent option. Alright, connect that up to there, but we're not done yet. So, this is one of the reasons why I said we should probably bring enough materials to make a couple of biomass burners. We need to get a way to actually start this thing up. So what we can do here is we can go ahead and grab some foundations and just kind of place them down back here. A couple of 1 meter foundations will probably do fine. Alright, let's go ahead and build a couple of biomass burners here. Like so. We will put a power pole right here in the middle between them. We will hook both of these up to that. And then hook that to our cable here. Alright, now I just happen to have some extra biofuel here. So I'm going to take a stack of 200, divide it in 2 by clicking on the slot and then just right clicking. And that will divide that by 2. I'll put 1 in one and 1 in the other. And then we'll turn our power on, and that will start powering our miner over here, getting the coal out, sending the coal down the line into our coal generators. It also should have started up our water down there as well. As you can see, we got the coal on the way down the line. Let's head down to our water extractors now. Alright, before we head down to the water extractors, let's take a look here at our coal generator real quick. Now you can see it's starting to fill up with water, and it is going to need about 45 per minute of water. Alright, so if each of these need 45, that is a total of 180. Alright, coming down here to our water extractors, we have 2 water extractors, so if we divide 180 by 2, we get 90. We need each of these to be able to produce 90 water. So let's go ahead and configure these. This is really easy by just clicking on right here where it says 120 and then just typing in 90. And that's going to underclock this, and we're only going to be using 12.6 megawatts of power just to run the extractor. And if we come over here to our second extractor, you'll notice that it uses 20 megawatts normally. And so by underclocking each of these, we are only going to be using about 24 megawatts of power total in our water extractors. Now by this point, you should see some smoke starting to come out of our coal generators. Let's take a look at what we've got here. Alright, now that it's actually starting to get some coal, we can see that each of these coal plants needs 15 coal per minute in order to run. And we get 75 megawatts of power out of each one. That's a total, with 4 of these, where you're getting 300 power at the cost of 60 coal, which we just happen to be making and sending down the line here. So if you want to produce more power down here, this is easily done by copying exactly what we did on this side to the other side for a total of 8 of these power generators. We would need 2 more water extractors on this side, 4 more generators, and we would put another Mark 1 miner up here on the other coal node to run the coal down this way. You can also add more over here on each side, actually, by producing more water, basically not underclocking the water extractors down here. And we would need at least to overclock the miner that we have, or wait until we get a Mark II miner so that we can run more coal down here. Alright, so now that we got the first of our coal generators built, you can see I've already started on the foundation here to make another 4 on this side. The next thing is to send this power back up to our hub and our factory. So over here on the left hand side, there is a convenient little sloped ramp that goes out of this lagoon and back up. So what we'll do is we're just going to run power up through there. So as you make your way back to the factory, just run some cables and poles along with you all the way up until we get up there. Also, as you're making your way back out of the lagoon up this little area here, there is going to be a blue slug right here on the side. That is easy pickings. Alright, and then once you finish connecting all your cable work back down here to our main hub, then you should be good to go. We now have an automated process for power that we don't really have to touch except to add more power. Alright guys, I present to you 600 megawatts of power using 8 total coal generators and 4 total water extractors. This is a pretty good build in my opinion. I think this is a great starter right here. We should have enough power to kind of continue on for a little bit and build some more stuff in our mega factory. We are going to try to cut down on efficiency. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to use overclocking and other things better, and that way we can start producing more things in a better way. Until then, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed the build, and I hope it was easy enough for you to follow along too. I will see you in the next video, wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.